panel. So the concept I want to do for this panel is kind of from concept stage to capital. What are the strategies for entrepreneurs, AI entrepreneurs specifically in kind of the seed stage? So really focusing in on very early stage companies. So the very first question here for anybody that wants to take it. So what's the difference between an AI company and a software company? Is this kind of the same thing?
AI is the current branding, right? So I could roll this story back into like the late 80s, and whether you want to insert Java here, insert this here, insert that here. I mean, I think this was novel 3 years ago. We're way past novelty of AI. I think the overarching issue is there needs to be a core underlying business here and a business need you're solving. Whether you're solving it with AI or you're solving it with the next great Mayan technology that we've unearthed or some other thing out there, it's got to stand up in a business environment, right? So when I see vertical companies pitching today, what's interesting to me has nothing to do with AI. It has to do with solving a vertical need, and you're using just the best tech that's out there in today's market. There will be better tech out there going forward, ideally, and whether it's AI or otherwise. Now, at the end of the day, I think that solving this, sort of hype curve around AI is going to be very interesting. Will it be self-correcting? Will it be M&A driven, or it will be crash driven? And I think to an entrepreneur in this category, you really need to look at how you can drive toward an early exit, right? Because when you're driving a hype curve story like AI, very few companies are going to end up building a big company. But a lot of people have the opportunity to create a point solution that can get acquired by a big company very quickly. And those are great technology opportunities. And you have windows every 5 to 10 year cycle where you can get in there with a point solution. Entrepreneurs can get out quickly. They can make money. They can come to the dark side with us. They can go do their next one. That's fine. But I want to shape thinking around that because, we did see a lot of boiling the ocean stories, and, that doesn't end up working out well for most.
When you're handed a thread that you absolutely need to pull at, you have to go off script and said, based on that, is it the obvious conclusion that the enterprise is really doing bespoke AI? So there is no startup opportunity selling to the enterprise because it is custom solution.
But just to follow
what
up,
you just described was essentially a services business that's doing this customization.
Yeah,
let's take that one.
Yeah, well, just to follow up though, I think Colin and I were actually more in line. My point was the large investing in this broader category has basically been done, with OpenAI and some of the other major players that are out there in the $100 to $250 million investment size already in AI. To me, those are the sales forces of the future in that category, right? As we play in the earlier startup game, that's where I'm pushing into the narrower focus, right? Very few of the small startups we'll see today have the capacity to get into the enterprise and do what you're talking about. However, there are pieces of this that smaller startups raising smaller amounts can really do quite well in. I mean, particularly the auto generation of music is really interesting. If there is some core IP there, that is an acquisition by an Adobe or someone like that, if there's something meaningful in that box, right? So I think, the key here is kind of speaking to the right audience. If we're raising $1, $2, $3 million in earlier seed dollars, where can they go to find that road to El Dorado, right? And so I do agree that the autonomous agent is the future. My belief is most of it won't get done at $1 and $2 million seed raises right now. That was my point.
So where is the there that actually creates an independent, valuable company that has an actual moat associated with us in this era of AI companies?
So I mean, I think the most important thing to understand is on the venture side, we're pattern matchers, right? We're not these great brains, super smart people on the venture side. We're matching existing patterns, and
Did somebody just record a venture capitalist saying that? Because I'd like to keep it for posterity.
No. Our job is not to be the smartest one in the room. Our job is to find the smartest one in the room and give them as much money as they'll take, right? So, but I want to parallel something you said earlier. So pattern matching. Let's say you want to talk about customer service, CS, right? If you look at prior waves of technology, that's a category since the 80s and 90s that have been hit and optimized by wave after wave after wave of technology, right? From automation all the way to voice rec, and now we're at AI, and maybe that is the final death knell at, humans leaving that space. But I think the important part of that is, a pattern match, right? When you were just saying that's a thin veneer over existing, library, for example, in the AI space, that's a good example. And I would pattern match that right back to mobile applications, right? Remember the big mobile? If you didn't have the word mobile in the first sentence of your pitch deck, it didn't make any sense 10 years ago, right? Well, it turned out that like 80 or 90% of those were actually just little apps and not actual companies, which is exactly what you're talking about today. So as an entrepreneur, it should be very rudimentary. In fact, you can use AI on your phone to learn this very quickly. You can go back and look at all those matches and pattern against it so that you're in a position to say, wait a second, I'm not really building a company here. I've got like a little app, for example, or if you're going after an existing space, where's the next layer of innovation you can apply to it? So you could use AI to help you refine your own startup, right? So that I think that's the greatest win here is using AI to form an AI startup to go sell it to us, to go sell it to someone else. Just saying.
I love that answer.
I
That was
guess-
awesome.